Developments in the Trayvon Martin shooting investigation are raising even more questions. We are trying to answer some of them. Special prosecutor Angela Corey decided not to use a grand jury in the case. That's the big development today. Came out just a little while ago. Well, HLN's social media producer Anna Gonzalez has been monitoring Twitter and Facebook and our website, getting all of her questions so we can put them to defense attorney BJ Bernstein. She's here to answer some of those questions. And Anna, it seems that some of the same types of questions keep coming up, right?
That's right, Rochelle. And just to give you guys a little bit of perspective, as soon as this news hit, the term grand jury trended on Twitter for about an hour. Wow. And that's at the same time as we got the news. We posted it right on HLN's Facebook page, right? And we got 300 comments in that same time. And people are wondering, why did this happen? Was it racially motivated? So if you have an opinion, you want to jump in on this conversation, I want you to go to facebook.com/HLN. Now, people are trying to figure out what this whole decision means. So, BJ, I'm really excited that you're here because I want to see if you can help clarify this for us. What does it mean that the case won't go to the grand jury?
This is actually what should happen, which is someone makes the decision to arrest or not arrest and not just punt it to a grand jury. Normally at the scene of the crime or shortly thereafter, the police would arrest, but that didn't happen in this case, which is why it's built up. Now we are some 40-something days later, and a prosecutor is looking at it, and she's basically saying to us, I'm going to make a decision based on the facts and evidence. I need more time to go over the information, and when I'm ready, you will know my decision, rather than going to the grand jury, which any presentation there is secret. We can't be there. We can't know the deliberations. And in a way, I think I'm relieved to hear that's not happening because you're not hiding behind secrecy. Grand jurors definitely indict most of the cases in front of them, but in controversial cases, if a whole case is played out, sometimes that's a way of a prosecutor avoiding public shaming. So I give her kudos for saying, no, the ball's in my court, and I'm going to make this decision when I'm ready.
That's great, BJ. Thank you. And now Monica Ray wants to know, is the prosecutor afraid the grand jury might bring a true bill forcing them to prosecute a botched investigation case?
You know, I think no, the other way around normally on something like this would be the opposite, that they would try to get a no bill and avoid having to prosecute it. So again, I think it's just them taking responsibility for the decisions.
Now, Rochelle, I'm sure you've probably seen a lot of this, too, on your account. Southern Pride 22 has asked this to @HLN TV on Twitter. Why has it taken so long for a decision to come down on Zimmerman?
Well, Southern Pride 22 and everybody's asking that. I mean, the truth was, at the very beginning, a decision was made that night not to arrest, and then it took the quiet roar, and actually it's not so quiet anymore, of Twitter, Facebook, the marches, the protests to say, look at this closer. And it is a complicated case that has probably some forensic evidence to look at. So the fact that it's taking time right now, we can't know whether that's going to rule one way or the other.
But the time is what it's going to take, BJ, so everyone just has to sit tight, right?
Exactly.
Okay. BJ, Anna, thank you both very much.
Thanks, Rachel.
An alleged rape victim, a 17-year-old girl, is locked up in juvenile hall. Her lawyer says she's being treated like the criminal. Prosecutors say it could be their best shot at sending her accused attacker away. It's a very complicated story. Listen to this. Derek Shore of our Sacramento affiliate KOVR has all the details.
More than 220 pounds and covered in tattoos, including a swastika, Frank William Rackley sits behind bars accused of kidnapping and raping a 17-year-old girl who is now behind bars herself just to make sure she shows up to the suspect's trial.
It is extremely rare.
Attorney Lisa Franco represents the teen. She's outraged after a judge has ordered her client jailed to make sure she helps put Rackley away.
What this is serving to do is only making victims out there, potential victims and future victims, not want to come forward because they're afraid they're going to have to go to court or go to jail because they're afraid to testify.
Franco says her client is too terrified to take the stand. And under state law, sex assault victims are not required to do so. But still, she is behind bars.
Certainly, we don't like to be in the position of having to take a victim or a witness into custody to ensure that we're able to prosecute the case.
Assistant District Attorney Albert Locker says even if she doesn't testify, the victim is required to attend court. But so far, she's missed 2 court dates and several meetings with the DA's office, forcing the case to be dropped and then refiled.
Is there any moral issue you have with doing something like this as an attorney?
Well, it becomes a question of balancing the inconvenience to the witness, and we're talking about a relatively short period of time here, against the protection of the community.
Community safety, but Franco asks, at what cost?
You can't stomp all over her rights and put her in jail when she's a victim, re-victimize her, and treat her like she's the criminal.
Thanks again to KOVR for that report. Defense Attorney BJ Bernstein is weighing in on this. We've been talking about this since yesterday because it really got on a lot of people's radar. At first, I'm a little caught off guard by the prosecutor saying that he has to weigh public safety, which makes sense, with the victim's inconvenience. Her attorney says this is not about inconvenience.
No, I mean, that absolutely wrong choice of word. I mean, I have had clients who had material witness warrants against them, just like here. I was irate about it on their behalf, and we quickly were able to get them out and work out a compromise. And that's what's disturbing here is, if she is a victim, why can't they take victim witness funds or service money and set her up in a safe place where she's comfortable with an ankle monitor? I mean, there's a lot less drastic things than arresting. And I don't understand why that wasn't explored as an alternative to just locking the child up.
And she is a child, and she says she was raped. Just the most awful circumstances. And a point that you made, BJ, is often in cases like this, when there are minors involved and the person accused of the crime is an adult, that adult counts on the child not wanting to be there or clamming up and not talking.
Exactly, and that is the point the prosecutor is trying to make, inartfully perhaps, that, you know, this guy is dangerous, that he's a predator according to them, and that if he's threatened her in such a way, who else is he going to threaten next? And they need to prosecute him, and they need their victim. But again, you know, perhaps appointing a court-appointed guardian or using her lawyer to come up with some creative ways to convince her to testify, or in the end, if the law doesn't make her do it, she has that right.
When it comes to trial, is any of this going to backfire on the prosecution, the fact that they had to go through all this to get the witness to the stand?
Well, certainly that will come out. I mean, when you cross-examine the victim, you don't want to be here. She may recant what she said. But then, of course, the state could possibly use a prior inconsistent statement where she testified otherwise. So, again, it will create evidentiary issues. Whether it would sink the case, you'd have to wait and see with the jury.
So you're saying it's not that uncommon for witnesses to be arrested, but in this particular situation, this seems a bit unusual.
It's even rare for them to be arrested. It does happen more often in the federal system. For instance, people who are not from the United States. I had an immigrant who was arrested. So it's rare, but you got to be careful when you use it.
Exactly. BJ Bernstein, thank you so much. And we'll keep you posted on this story as well.